Welcome to iRuleThem, your empirical poker simulation environment based on random trying. Betting at a 10-player table. The pot odds are defining your own hand requirements. Those requirements are the minimum equity that is needed by your dealt hand on post-flop time. This is because after the flop comes another round of wagering. This makes another conclusion with changed pot odds. Think of it like you call or raise with your given commencing hand to see the flop cards and not any cards from following stages. Hint: when playing your hands with too much aggression, you can't read your opponents anymore. It's a game with a destiny that has already been written. Without enough fold equity from very frightened player, someone with a nut-like hand is going to take over your stack. Check out my last project Valuable Hands at a 10-player table to learn which hands offer enough potential seen on average. Now I start with the configuration in use. The app is configured to only run against the best of the dealt starting hands. A 10-player table offers 9 starting hands in play and only the best one is used. A simulation does 10,000 random tries. It uses percentage. Jacks played on all in against the table's best hand. This results in an equity to win after the drawn river card of about 62%. Normally you don't declare yourself all in very often because you won't gamble or bluff too frequently. Most made hands like Jack or better perform much better when not played on all in. Again, I simulate Jacks, but this time without an all-in declaration. The probability to win after the flop is now about 70%. %70 is the probability to win without an all-in compared to the result before. It was 62%, is about 10% more success. Any additional percent which you receive is also missing on the other side. With other words, your 70% chance results in a delta of the equity given compared to your opponents, which is 40%. 2 times 20%. 70% is yours and 30% is your opponent's. This means in odds language 2.33 to 1 instead of 1.5 to 1 when not played on all in. I hope that you have recognized the fact that this matters. As you can see, when playing with experienced players, your profit becomes more without doing numerous all-in actions. This is true for most hands without good reads. Example given, you know to own an overpair. Further exceptions to this rule can be the hands aces, kings, and from time to time ace-king with a good reason behind. Example given against a bully. When you have enough fold equity, when you play with very loose opponents, when you don't own too much chips anymore, or in a late phase of a tournament. A thing to know is that the winning expectation of ace-king increases a little bit on later streets. Other hands with the same equity like medium pocket pair lose their impact. Never declare yourself all in when you're angry, tilted, or motivated to strike back. After an all in, your strong pocket pair hands benefits become less. This is because of the outs of your opponent. They are more in number than yours. With other words, you need a miraculous board to catch any additional draw or full house hands. That's easy to understand because you just have two outs for a three of a kind improvement, and your opponent might also receive two pair or any additional draws. Furthermore, it would also contain the risk being dominated by a higher value pair. With two different card values, the opponent's hand is indeed less powerful yet, but has more perspectives to offer. Remember this, the straight or flush occurs more often in later streets. So without preflop occurred all in, the chances are good that your opponent folds after your post-flop value protection bet. Now I define the hand of the opponent to be ace-king. And make another simulation. The probability to win this after the flop is now 68%. An opponent's all-in changes everything, and you bet on every missing community card that gets additionally drawn. When a tied passive player shoves on pre-flop, it's out of question to fold almost every hand. When it's a tied aggressive one, it really depends on how often he makes that move. This is called raising frequency. Therefore, someone might decide to push any hand with at least an impact of ace-king. This kind of player is somehow crazy but also strong. He needs a well-chosen commencing hand that performs better on average seen on the long run. The tap counter can be used to detect the all-in raise hand range of your opponent. This isn't material that is covered here. During this episode, the against best mode is in use instead of ranges. Later you will be the one who raises the bet. Now I make a simulation without all-in 68%, with enabled all-in 54%. The likelihood to receive the strongest hand on post-river time has been decreased to 54%. A good strategy is to only risk your money for a starting hand that has some more equity, especially during tournaments. The stack and behavior of your opponents become more and more important. In a late phase, you're almost forced to go for it. This is because at the end people tend to overbet their hands and generally increase their aggression. It's all about the array of hands that make their currently used all-in range. Here the check's winning expectation is reduced by the opponent's all-in declaration. This leads more or less to a coin flip against ace-king suited. That's not optimal for the checks. Back to the paw dots. Generally, there are two models to apply to get the most of it. Model 1. Your opponent raises and you have no intention to re-raise, or it's a pre-flop situation. In either case, you only decide if you own enough value to make the call. This case is very simple because you have already some of the information you need. That's depending on your own position. The final pot is more or less known, and only opponents behind you might change things. By using the available pot odds, you can choose all the hands which justifies calling. Model 2. Your own hand offers enough value and you decide to raise or re-raise the bet. This consideration is much harder because you have to make an educated guess about your opponent's reactions. You have to conclude the number of remaining opponents. Scenario A. A 3-bet works well with the idea of running against the strongest remaining opponent. Therefore, you have to add the speculated opponent's call into the pot. Your motivation here is that your opponent's hand is certainly worse. Example: jacks from under the gun. Against the table's strongest dealt hand. This results in an equity of about 70% to receive the strongest hand on post-flop time. The pot offers $1.50 from the blinds. Because jacks is a very strong and promising catch, you simply have to make a 3-bet to run against one opponent. Therefore, you make a raise to $3 in order to beware your hand's high equity. You believe that at least one opponent with a good hand is willing to pay. Therefore, the expected pot offers $4.50 and $3 is your bet. It's plus EV. Now to the hand outcomes. Ace 9 offsuit, a pair of 9s against 3 of a kind jacks. You have won the first evaluation. A pair of 5s. Again, you received strong hand. Now opponent 1 has the stronger hand with a pair of queens. Now he has kings and he wins the 4th evaluation. Ace 10 suited. You have won with a 3 of a kind hand against a pair of aces. Ace 8 suited. You have won with just your pair. King 10 suited. You hold the better hand on post flop time. Ace 9 offsuit. Again, you win with a pair of jacks and a pair of 6. Ace 7 suited, and once more you hit a 3 of a kind hand. Now the opponent holds a marginal hand, 9-8 offsuit, and you have won. He would need 2 pair or luckily flopped straight. Ace 4 suited. Once more you have won by holding the stronger poker hand. King 8 offsuit. Now the opponent has 3 of a kind hand with kings against your 2 pair. Therefore you have lost. Ace Queen offsuit. You have won. A pair of 6. Now your superior starting hand doesn't hold the flop, there is another 6. So opponent 1 has a 3 of a kind hand with 6s. Ace 6 offsuit. And now you received once more 3 of a kind hand with jacks. After 15 evaluation, you have won 11 times and you have lost 4 times. This leads to your equity of 73.3% to hold the stronger poker hand on post-flop time. When considering just the commencing hand, you have won 14 times out of 15. This leads to an equity of 93.3%. Now to your financial outcomes after 15 tries. 11 times $4.50 makes $49.50 minus 4 times $3, $12 equals your given stack change of $37.50. Scenario B. When 2 or more opponents are welcome, you might prefer a 2-bet instead. This means you add twice your bet to the pot given for your speculation. Your motivation here is that your hand has enough potential to earn some more cash on later streets. Otherwise, it's often a good move with dominating hands like Ace-King. Example, Ace-King suited from the big blind position. I make simulation against 2 opponents holding the strongest dealt commencing hands. This leads to an equity of 51% to win on post-flop time. The pot offers $4.50 from 3 active opponents together with the blinds. You have already posted the big blind. Because nobody raised the bet, you could also check from this position. Nevertheless, you prefer to raise the bet to overall $2. Your speculation is to run at least against 2 opponents. Therefore, you add another buck per opponent into the pot. It's therefore $6.50 you could make and $1 is your raise. It's plus EV. Now to the hand outcomes. Pair of 9s, Ace 9 suited. Opponent 1 with a pair of 9s wins. Ace Queen offsuit, Ace 8 suited. Your hand holds the flop. And you have a flush draw. Queens and Queen Jack offsuit. There is an ace and there is a jack, so you win with a pair of aces. 9-6 offsuit, 10-4 offsuit. These are very marginal starting hands. You win with a pair of aces. 10s, King Queen suited, and 10s win with three of a kind hand. Ace queen offsuit, ace jack suited, there is a queen, so ace queen offsuit wins. This time it all ended as a draw between ace king. Ace 9 suited, jack 10 offsuit. You hit the ace and you have the better kicker compared to opponent 1. Jacks king 10 offsuit. You flopped the nut flush. With included straight flush possibility. Ace 9 offsuit, king 9 suited. You have won with a high card hand combination. Ace queen offsuit, king 9 offsuit. Once more, you have won without hitting anything. Nines, king jack offsuit. There is an ace, so you have won with a pair of aces. Ace queen suited, king queen offsuit. Because the flop brings another queen, opponent 1 wins with ace queen suited as commencing hand. A hand that should be defeated by ace king suited. A pair of threes, a pair of twos against your hand, and a pair of threes hold the flop. Tens and ace king offsuit, tens win with a 3 of a kind hand combination. Ace 10 offsuit, ace 5 offsuit, you have won by hitting the king. Ace 2 offsuit, king 6 offsuit, you have won again with a pair of kings. Ace 10 suited, ace 2 offsuit, you have won with the higher kicker cards and the pair given from the board. Queen 7 offsuit, jack 8 offsuit, you have won with a pair of kings. And the last evaluation leads to the hands tens and king queen offsuit, and tens win in here with a 2 pair poker hand. After 20 tries you have won 12 times. Once you have been involved in a draw, and 7 times you have lost your wagering. This leads to an equity of 62.5% to win on post-flop time. Considering just your given commencing hand, ace king suited, you have won 12 times out of 20. This leads to an equity of 60%. Now to your financial outcomes. 12 times $6.50 equals $78, plus 1 time $2.75 equals $2.75, minus 7 times $1 equals $7. This leads to your stack change of plus $73.75. Scenario C. When you decide to bet much more to eliminate every non-monster hand, your own stack is more at stake. That's because your betting leads to an all or nothing situation. When someone owns a more nut-like hand, your bet is gone. Otherwise, everyone folds and you just receive the pot. Example: kings from middle position. Play it on all-in against the table's strongest commencing hand. This leads to an equity of 73% to win after the drawn river card. The pot offers $5.50 from 2 active opponents. Everyone at the table acts very tightly and there hasn't been any all-in declarations. You decide to shove your whole stack of $10.50 with the target to take over the pot. Because of the table's hand history, you could expect to only run against one opponent holding either kings or aces. Because kings wouldn't change anything, you can exclude this hand from your consideration. Therefore, only aces are relevant. Because of your maximum bet size, which is $14.79, this is a profitable move. Keep in mind that our opponent only plays aces. With other words, the outcome of all the visualizations are irrelevant because our opponent folds every other hand. Therefore, I count +1 for every hand he folds, which isn't aces. Kings have a count of +0 and are therefore correctly skipped. I want to find out how many times my own killer hand is good enough until the worst case occurs. Kings +0 equals 0. 0 plus 1, which isn't an ace hand. Ace's hand equals 1. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. The 36th hand is aces. 35 hands haven't been aces. So we don't have any poker chip support, but it's easy brain work. 35 times $5.50 minus $10.50 for the last game with the aces equals a total of $182. After dividing that total by 36 games, you receive $5.82 and 6 cents per game. Remember this expected value per game because now you're going to hear some theory to make a comparison. How much cash is expected by theory? On average, only every 25th time someone received pocket rockets. This is because of the occurrence rate of that hand that is once after 221 tries. That's about 4.5 promille. Now a 10-player table offers 9 starting hands for all the opponents. Therefore you can multiply that times 9. This equals about 4%. Because 1 divided by 0.04 equals 25, this means that you can expect profit on the long run. 24 times $5.50 minus $10.50 equals $121.50 after 25 repeated King Kong sessions. Thereafter you divide $121.50 by 25 and receive $4.85 per game. When you compare $4.85 per game with $5.06 per game from the visualization before, you might recognize the real beauty of math. This sounds good, but it becomes even better by a more optimal wagering. A much stronger move would be to bet once a half and after the flop another. Both races starts with a given $5.50 pot. I make another simulation, this time without all-in declaration against the strongest hand at the 10-player table. This leads to an equity of 82% to win on post-flop time. As said, the pot starts with $5.50 and both races have positive expectation, but to bet one half is more profitable. Possibly it might be interpreted as stealing the pot. By using $5 I can expect an opponent calling my bet in about half the attempts. Therefore I can additionally add $2.50 into the pot for those events. Because I only use half my stack, my opponents are thinking more carefully about playing their own hands. It's very likely to run against a worse hand. This means your opponent might use starting hands like high to medium value pocket pairs, ace king, ace queen or ace jack to compete. This leads to $8 as guessed pot size and $5 is my own wagering. Now I make exactly another 36 visualization of this more profitable move to reach about the same precision. The first hand is pocket 7. Your hand kings holds the flop and you received a flush draw. Ace 8 offsuit, there is no ace, but there is a king, so you received a strong 3 of a kind poker hand combination and win in here. Pocket 8, your kings holds the flop and you receive 2 pair king and queens. checks. Once more you have won. Now your overpair lost after drawn the flop cards. That's because the opponent with a pair of nines hit his set, so he has received a 3 of a kind poker hand and wins. Aces, the absolutely strongest hand, wins in here. Pocket twos. Now it's again your time. You have won. Ace queen, there is no ace, so you have won on post flop time. Ace 7 of suit, and again no ace, you have won. Ace king of suit, once more the flop doesn't offer an ace, so kings are good. Ace 9 of suit, now the flop brings an ace, so opponent 1 received a pair of aces and won. A pair of 6, your kings win. Ace 9 of suit, there is no ace, so kings are good. Pocket 7, there is no 7, so the dominated hand remains dominated. Ace 10 suited, there is no ace, so kings win once more. King queen suited, he hits his queen, but a pair of queens isn't good enough against kings. Pocket 8 without another 8, so you have won. Queen 10 offsuit, relatively marginal hand, and you have won on post flop time. Ace 8 offsuit, there is no ace, so you win with a pair of kings. Pocket 8s without another 8, so you have won again. Queen jack suited, offering an inside draw, but kings are good on post flop time. Ace 9 offsuit without another ace on the flop. You have won. Ace jack offsuit, and again there is no ace. Queens against kings. Nobody had an improvement from the flop given, so kings are superior. Pocket 7 against kings. Your hand is better after the flop. King jack offsuit. This time the opponent flopped a straight, the nut straight. And has won. Ace 8 offsuit, there is no ace, so kings remain superior. Jacks, and your overpair holds the flop. Tens against kings, there is no 10, so kings are good. Ace 10 offsuit, and the flop doesn't offer another ace. Again you win with a pair of kings. Ace 7 offsuit, and again no ace, so you have won. Ace queen suited, no ace on the board. Ace jack offsuit, again the ace is missing. Queen 10 offsuit, he hits his 10, but kings are better than 10s. Ace queen suited, he flopped top 2 pair, only a straight would be better, and he has won with aces and queens. And the last evaluation leads to the hand king jack suited, and kings remain better on post flop time. After 36 tries, you have won 31 times and you have lost 5 times. This leads to your equity of 86.1% to win on post flop time. Considering just the given commencing hand kings, you have won 35 times out of 36 times. Therefore, the opponent had once the starting hand aces. Now to your financial outcome. 31 times $8 leads to $248 plus $0 because there haven't been a draw ending, minus 5 times $5 equals $25. This leads to your stack change of $223 after 36 games. So now I divide $223 by 36 to receive $6.19 per game. That's more than the $4.85 from the theory. It's also more than the $5.06 stemming from the until aces visualization. As you can see, by choosing the most suitable bet size, you can maximize your profit and furthermore minimize bad outcomes. It's all about game experience. And with iRuleThem you get anything you need within your pocket. Visualize and simulate your hold'em poker reality. When you like this movie, thumb up, share it with your friends, and give me some feedback. This is Reiki from Reiki Bites. Thank you for watching and goodbye.